they wanted me to tell about a turkey. I killed a turkey. Well, the bad thing about it is they said, well, you know something about deer hunting and turkey hunting. I do that kind of stuff. So they wanted me to say a few things. This is this kind of gathering. The bad thing about that is, I killed a nice turkey this past year. I killed number 1 turkey in Alabama this past season. Scored 130. Oh, I don't know. It scored well up there. It's number 7 all time in Alabama National Wild Turkey Federation. Since they score different in the National Wild Turkey Federation and the Safari Club International doesn't include weight, just goes by beards and spurs, so it scored number 1 in the world. It's the current world record by 11 inches. So anyway, the bad thing about being a pastor, you all the time try to tell everybody they need to stay humble and, pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And then somehow I got to get up here and brag on my hunting. And so, that's a difficult thing to do. But so I know some of you, I've been deer hunting and turkey hunting all my life. I used to do an outdoor show with Archie Phillips. Some of y'all would know Archie. I had the privilege of preaching his funeral this past summer. Archie went on to be with the Lord, and it was a wonderful time. But I talk a lot about him, and I have in the past. We used to do some outdoor stuff like this every now and then. Well, I'll tell you, some people always ask me how I knew Archie, how I met Archie. And I tell the story that Archie called me on the phone when I knew of him, but because of his show and what he did. He called me one time and he said, Brother Moore, I understand you're a Baptist pastor and you're an outdoorsman. I said, that's right. He said, well, I called you. I said, I understand you're a dog lover. I said, well, I got a lot of beagles and I rabbit hunt. I enjoy doing that. He said, well, good. That's the reason I called you. You're a pastor. I figured you'd do a funeral. I said, yes, sir. I'd be glad to help any way I can. Be glad to, try to comfort the family, what I can do. He said, well, I called you because I'm a dog lover too, and my old squirrel dog died the other day. I wondered if you'd preach my squirrel dog's funeral. Old Blue. I said, well, Mr. Phillips, I appreciate, and I know people get attached to their dogs, and I love my dogs, but I said, I've never done a pet's funeral. I don't know that I would be the one to properly bury that dog. So, but I've got a friend down the street here that's a little different in his theology than I am, and if you'll call him, he's a dog lover I know, he would probably be willing to do it. He said, well, okay. And we talked a few more minutes and pleasantries, and talking about hunting and stuff. And then he said, well, Brother Moore, before I let you go, I got one more question for you. He said, I want to properly compensate this guy that I'm calling. He said, do you think $1,000 would be enough to do that funeral? I said, well, Brother Phillips, why didn't you tell me that was a Baptist dog? That changes everything. I'll be honored to preach that funeral. Well, I got a lot of stories about Archie. I may tell you one more before I get through here. But I had the privilege of going hunting this past year in Marion County, and the article came out yesterday, the March edition of Alabama Outdoor News magazine. My daddy opened it up, and there I was, a big picture of me with that turkey. It's in this month's magazine, that turkey I just told you about. Well, they wanted me to tell you about how I killed that turkey. Well, I'll tell you just the story. I went up there turkey hunting, took my daddy first season last year, and I should have read the article because it's going to be a little different than the article. As pastors, we got to get our story straight. You know what I mean? Anyway, I wrote the article, but anyway, I took my daddy up there. We walked it down. The wind was blowing. I didn't have any confidence we were going to hear a bird or anything. And I don't know how many turkey hunters we have here, but it's something that my daddy turned me on to. And I never did kill many turkeys until I started hunting them on a regular basis. Once you start turkey hunting, you learn the woods and you learn where you're hunting and what the bird doing, and then you can find some success. But really, you've got to be able to make yourself get up in the morning early and go to be able to kill turkeys. Well, we were there before daylight, walking in, blowing like a hurricane, and we hadn't walked 100 yards from the truck, heard a turkey gobble. I said, you got to understand, my daddy don't hear too well. He said, I didn't hear anything. I was taking another buddy of mine turkey hunting one time years ago like that, Jim McGowan, a fine man, and Jim couldn't hear it. He was a admiral in a submarine. He couldn't hear it thunder. I mean, he couldn't hear anything. And I turned around, I heard a turkey gobble one morning. I turned around to Jim. He was right on my heels. And I stopped for a second, and I owled real loud. And a turkey gobbled. And I turned around to Jim, and I said, did you hear a turkey gobble? He said, I think I heard an owl. My daddy hears about like that. Anyway, we took about another 25, 30 steps, and I heard turkey gobble again. He still hadn't heard him. Finally, we got within 125, 50 yards of turkey, something like that, and the turkey gobbled again. Anyway, make a long story short, we got set up. I set Daddy out front, and I kind of got back behind him. And you understand, my daddy is a all-state turkey. He made the all-state team back in the mid-90s. Very good turkey hunter, but he don't hear as good anymore. And he couldn't be here with us tonight. He just had a little cancer cut off his nose and got a bandage on, so he wouldn't come tonight. But y'all pray for him. But I set him up front, and I moved kind of back and around to the right, and I let Daddy call. Well, he called on that old lynch box, and old turkey started hammering and gobbling on the roost. Finally, he flew off the roost, and when he did, he made a circle come all the way around, and wouldn't you know it, turkey come up on my right. And so Daddy's I'm between Daddy and the turkey. Well, the turkey gobbled for 15 minutes in one spot. Well, finally, the turkey started to walk off, and I killed the turkey. And so we went back to that same place, and we went back to that same place, and I'm trying to make it as short as I can. And we, with my nephew about 2 weeks later, and I called in 2 gobblers together, and my nephew killed a turkey, and I killed one there. Well, we had 4 birds gobbling in there, and I had no idea there was a trophy bird in there. I just knew that this bird loved to gobble, and I'd killed all of his buddies. And so we had just 1 turkey left. Well, I went in there one morning, took off in there, set up, got by myself. Usually I've got somebody with me. Most of the time I'm going to have somebody with me. But this morning I was by myself. And Congressman Gary Palmer had given me a new call that's real sweet call. Matter of fact, we have it here tonight. They're going to give, he donated you one to give to you tonight, Congressman Palmer. By the way, let me just say this about Gary Palmer. I know one politician that can speak in my pulpit, and that's Gary Palmer. He's a man of God. Pray for him. And he wants you to know he's praying for you tonight. He couldn't be here with us. He had other obligations. But he gave me one of his calls. It's a special edition made out of New York City by this champion turkey caller or turkey maker, turkey call maker. Anyway, he had it special made. It's got his name on it. They're going to give you one here tonight. Anyway, I took that with me that morning. And it's a different call than I'd been using every morning because I got about a dozen I use anyway. Short, I finally got in the cutover, and the turkey hung up out there a while. Finally, I killed him. When I got to the turkey, I noticed he had multiple beards. He had 2, and then he had 3. No, he had 4. No. And then when I got the truck, I said, no, this turkey's got 5 beards. And then I went to have him certified at the scales and have him weighed, and a buddy of mine come up and said, you better look at this turkey again. He's got 6 beards. So it was a 6-bearded turkey, scored 138 and some change in Alabama, and with the National Wild Turkey Federation, and he scored 122, which is 11 inches above the world record with Safari Club International. Anyway, it's one of my pleasant things I like to do is take people turkey hunting and introduce them to the sport. I appreciate them letting me share a few minutes. As pastors, we can run over. I've only got a few more minutes. Let me just tell you a story or two, and then I'm going to be through, okay? I'm going to be through in time. I am. I'm going to be through in time. Archie, one time I took Archie. I'm going to tell you one story about Archie, and then I'm going to give the last thing. I took Archie hunting with me. And you got to understand, I just had started hunting with Archie. I didn't know him very well at that time. And he was watching himself real well. He's hunting with a pastor, and so the preacher, he's going to be nice. And anyway, I called a turkey in, and I'm filming, and he's shooting a gun. And turkeys don't just come in the wide open. They sometimes come in behind trees. Well, this turkey, instead of coming out in the open, he was walking to the left, and Archie, I said, don't shoot a tree, shoot the turkey. And he shot a tree in 2. The turkey run off. And Archie was spitting, and finally he let some language go that, was just not becoming, and we wouldn't want to say it in mixed company anyway. And I said, Mr. Phillips, you don't have to talk like that. I said, that's no need. And he said, well, you don't understand. And I said, look, I used to talk that way too, but God's changed me. I don't have to talk that way no more. You don't have to talk that way anymore. And he said, oh, I understand, and I'm going to watch my mouth. I ain't going to do that anymore. Well, about a week later, we're in the same area hunting, and I call in a turkey, and Archie's filming, and I got the gun. I shoot a tree. Well, I'm spitting there and trying to say anything. I'll be honest, I didn't cuss. If you'd have wrote one down, I'd have signed it. I guarantee you that. But I didn't cuss. But Mr. Phillips looked at me and said, hi, Brother Moore. He said, what you ought to do is haul off and cuss that bird out. I said, Mr. Phillips, I don't do them kind of things no more. He said, you keep shooting trees. It'll come back to you. And anyway, I told that at his funeral, by the way. But I love my friend, and he's on in heaven today, but I appreciate him. Let me just say this about turkey hunting, and I'll be through. And if you're going to turkey hunt, you've got to do a few things you're going to have to do, okay? If you're going to really turkey hunt, first thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to get up early in the morning. Really, turkey hunting is a lot like your relationship with God. If we want to have a relationship with God, we got to have to get up early in the morning. And then you got to go to that secret place. The Word of God talks about Jesus get up early in the morning and preparing himself by going to the Father. In Matthew chapter 6, it talks about if we're really going to pray, when you pray, Jesus says, go to your secret place. Go to your Father who is in secret, that he might reward us. So you got to, first of all, you got to get up. You got to go to your secret place. And you got to listen. That's what you do when you turkey hunt. You get up, you go to the secret place where that bird is, and you listen. And you listen for that bird. And it's the same thing when you're trying to pursue a relationship with God. You got to do a lot more listening. And the best way to listen, I found out, is with an open Bible. You got to go to your secret place. You got to get up early, go to your secret place. You got to listen, and then you do a little bit of talking. And I found out when my prayer is best when I have a whole lot of the Word of God with me and let God do most of the talking. And I do a whole lot of listening. And then you got to pursue your passion. That's what you're doing. You're pursuing a relationship with a living God. And what I found out is I do that, what happens is God always rewards me. Because I always have the reward when I'm there with him. He's always rewarding me with himself. Now, what I found out when I'm turkey hunting, I always get rewarded too. Because sometimes I'm rewarded by just the pleasure of God's creation and enjoying the morning and the day becoming alive. And then other times I'm rewarded because I or one of my friends with me, we kill a big turkey. Either way, the two are just a whole lot alike. If you're really going to have a relationship with God, or if you're going to pursue any passion you have, you got to find out what it takes to do that passion. In order to have a relationship with God, get up early, go to that secret place, listen, talk a little bit, pursue your passion, and expect God to reward you because he always will. God bless you. I appreciate y'all letting me have a few minutes tonight.